Nothing's been amended?
There are no amendments.
So number 2 would be, I'm looking for a motion to approve the agenda as presented. So,
Second.
second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, then, as is our norm on the first meeting of the year, the first of the January meeting is the election of officers. And so, be a little patient with me as I waltz my way through this one. At this point, actually,
Good question.
I do have a little question. I know Valerie had some motions to make in this regard. I am now wondering, Kim, if you would mind,
Can you just tell me what's the first thing we're doing on the agenda? I'm trying to remember what
Okay, so we are electing officers or directors, and nominations are now in order for the office of chair, and I am looking for a nomination in that regard.
I would make a motion to nominate Mike Earls for board chair.
Second.
Okay, so I have one, I am required to ask this 3 times, so I'm looking for any other nominations for the office of chair for 2016. And again, the 3rd time, I am looking for any other nominations for the office of chair for 2016. Okay, so hearing none, the rule states that we don't have to vote, and that Mike Airholtz is
Enough. Do you accept?
well, obviously I accept, and then I'm grateful for your support, and I appreciate the continuity we're going to have here from 15 to 16. So, Kim nominated, and who seconded?
Brandon nominated, I seconded.
Brandon nominated and Kim seconded, and Mike Earls is hereby elected board chair for 2016 calendar year.
Congratulations.
Yeah, and thank you. I'm a little nervous. So anyway, now we are going to have nominations for, nominations are now in order for the office of vice chair.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to nominate 2015's vice chair, Kurt Johnson.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Derek. So once again, I will ask if there are any other nominations for the office of vice chair for 2016. And then once again, are there any other nominations for the office of vice chair for 2016? So again, by rule, Kurt, if you accept, then congratulations are in order to you for the vice chairmanship of 2016.
I do, and I again appreciate the support and the balance of the board for this. Thank you very much.
Okay. I suppose we should make a little bit more out of this than I'm making, but. Okay, so nominations then for the 3rd director that we have on this board would be secretary treasurer for the 2016.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
I
Brandon.
would like to make a nomination. I would nominate our Citizen of the Year, Susan Matheson Young, to be the clerk treasurer for the coming 2016 calendar year.
Second.
Seconded by Kim. So again, are there any other nominations for the office of clerk treasurer for 2016? And once again, are there any other nominations for the office of clerk treasurer for 2016? So then, by rule, Susan, I congratulate you for being elected for 2016. I know there's a little spot in our agenda for the other end of what Brandon had to say there in a few moments. So, Mike Airholtz is the board chair for 2016, Kurt Johnson is the vice chair for 2016, and Susan is the clerk treasurer for 2016. Okay, that ends number 3. Number 4, there are other reorganizational items at this time. We're asked to set the regular board meeting schedule. Currently, work sessions are held on the first Monday of each month, beginning at 6 p.m. And regular meetings are held at the third Monday of each month, beginning at 6 p.m.
Mr. Chair, can I just ask for a point of clarification on this? There's nothing presented.
In the board packet on page 6, there's a list of meetings, but there's an error. So I wanted to point that out. January 4 is listed on there as a work session. That's not true.
I wondered if I missed that.
We did not have a work session on January 4, so with that scratched out, the rest of the dates are accurate, I believe.
So are we accepting a total schedule or a schedule? Because I guess we've never accepted a whole year worth of dates like this, which is a little bit different.
We did last year. We did. This was right in the packet.
I just don't
Even
recall.
2 years ago.
It's
Yeah.
odd, you know,
I recall everything. I know. I'm listening.
Except that.
And this was a cut and paste error from last year,
All right.
so I apologize.
So, Mr. Chair, I'd like to set the regular board meeting schedule for the 2016 calendar year as presented, minus January 4th.
So moved. Looking for a second on that.
Second.
Eric, is there any discussion, any further discussion? It seems like everyone has gravitated towards the 6 PM start times, and the work session board meeting, committee of the whole is working, in my opinion, pretty well. So, with no further discussion, I'm looking for all in favor, say aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Did you want me to do that? No, that's what- okay. Okay, then, moving on, 4B, set board salaries. Currently, board salaries are $250 per month with an additional $100 per day for a full day meeting. I am looking for a motion to set the board salaries for the 2016 calendar year at $250 per month and $100 per day for full day meetings.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Brandon? Is there any discussion?
Can I ask for a point of clarification from the board?
Absolutely.
We've had a scenario a couple of times when a board member has been involved in like a half-day meeting that requires taking some vacation time from work and not being there. And so I would just like some direction that, can I make an assumption that the $100 for a full day meeting is a $50 stipend for a half-day meeting, or is that a practice we don't want to get into? Because we don't currently do that.
Anyone?
If I could, I mean, Val and I attended something over Lincoln the other day. And it was a half day, and it was probably better than half day because there was time gone. And in my capacity, I kind of control my own schedule, so that wasn't quite as vicious. But I know that Val, you know, in that case, probably would have at least helped in some sense. So I would support that if we're going to go out and be active like that. I mean, and I'm not suggesting that we would otherwise skip meetings if we don't get this stipend. But
Does it require a different motion? Sorry to interrupt.
No,
Or
you're right.
Do we need to rewrite this motion, or can it be an assumption?
I think it can, as long as people are okay with it and I'm operating in transparency, if I move into that practice, anyone opposed to that?
Personally, I'm not.
Okay. So then go ahead with the motion as read.
Okay, so I have reread it. We have a motion and a second. We've had some discussion. Is there any other discussion? All in favor of the motion as read?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. 4C, this is set officer salaries. The chair is currently paid an additional $100 per month, and the clerk treasurer is paid an additional $50 per month. I'm looking for a motion to set the officer salaries for the 2016 calendar year at $100 per month for the chair and $50 per month for the clerk treasurer.
So moved.
Kim, second.
I'll second.
Kurt, is there any discussion on this? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. That's it for the, so 4D then is name the official newspaper. This is where legal notices and minutes are published. Historically, we've used the Echo Journal, and I'm looking for a motion to name the Echo Journal as the official newspaper for 2016.
So moved.
In a second.
I'll second.
Second by Kurt. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. This last one is 4E is task force and liaison appointments. The list of these are in your board packet. I ask that you review them. No action is required on this item at this time. see the attached list and get back to me or Superintendent Lindholm with any changes or issues you may have with your current positions on the list. All right. With that, we move on to number 5, district recognitions, and am I turning this over to Principal Rankin?
You are.
Okay, Principal Rankin, please.
Good evening, Chairman Airholtz and members of the board. Tonight we honor 4 students. It's not the exact 4 this year. We do have our student council president with us, but tonight we're going to honor Alex Stone and Jacob Cheetah. They're Excel Award winners for our school district this year. They're juniors that will be represented in the competition. It's in the board packet. I think you got to update what it's about, but it's kind of like the AAA award winner that we have, Levi Palmer and Sydney Holt. Basically, we look at kids who are in fine arts, academics, and activities. And I'm sure you've seen Alex, maybe you haven't seen on the slows, the golf course, tennis, phenomenal student, just had a great ACT. I'm sure she wants better, I'm sure, but this is a phenomenal young lady. Last year attended Obie and was represented Obie the Leadership Award that sophomores going to go to a camp in the summer, and it went really well. Jacob cheated, you've seen him, state cross country, going to do some track this spring, active in our student council also. And then I'm trying to remember 2, you were a Hobie Award winner, and attended. Where did you guys go to Hobie last year? St. Cloud State. Okay. So both were recognized to be our Hobie representatives for our school. And last year's Excel Award winner was Levi Palmer. Now Eagle Scout Levi Palmer as of a couple weeks ago. And Levi has been nominated to be our AAA award winner, and will represent our school in the district competition and along the state competition. He's lucky enough. Very talented young man. Levi, we can't even get on all the accolades you've had, but recently Eagle Scout, but then also very active in the student council, Spanish club, cross country, track, just does it all. Post-secondary plans?
I'm going to the U of M for chemical engineering and then maybe pharmacy or something along that path.
And Sydney Hall, of course, tennis player, active in our fine arts, and obviously extremely talented academically. So these are our Excel and AAA award winners for this year.
Okay. And as part of the recognition ceremony, you get to get up and make a short speech. No, I'm just kidding. Maybe for those of you that would like to be excused, you can. Otherwise, feel free to hang around. Yeah, and congratulations, by the way. Thanks for letting me give you a hard time. Do you want to take the last one? Or should I? Yeah, why don't you? Because I think that you have a little.
I'm sure most of you saw this, but I didn't know this was coming on the front page of the Echo here last week. Our own Susan Madison Young was on the front page and called out as the 2015 Pequot Lakes Breezy Point Cross Lake Citizen of the Year for all of the incredible number of hours she volunteers, mostly with our youth, in 4-H and some of our theater programs, but also in GLAPA in that program too. So I thought it would be terrible to miss honoring our own Susan for the amount of work she does in our community and to say to her, congratulations in front of the whole board. So.
Congratulations. No speech. No, that's very nice, and obviously you're very deserving of the honor, so congratulations, Susan. Okay, not to hurry through that, but number 6 would be reports and information items. We're going to start out with the student council report, please.
You get to pick any one of those chairs, right?
I think this. All right. Well, maybe I'll just. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I am Barbara Miller. So sorry, I had said student council president, and I apologize for missing last meeting, but I'm here this time, so that counts for something. I would say a recap on our events. Our latest event would have been, or since this last meeting would have been December 12th. We had our winter ball at Pine Peaks Event Center, and that was fairly successful. We sold 230 tickets, and dance went from 8 to 11, and we profited about $1,255 from that. Following that, actually, rewind, December 7th, is that right, rewind? Blood drive? I don't know. We had a blood drive, and our goal as a school was 45 units of blood, and the Red Cross's goal was 50 units of blood, and we actually surpassed both of those with 57 units of blood. So that was a pretty good accomplishment there, I would say. Our next event that we had was actually today, after school to 7 o'clock. We have a cookies and cram, we call it, where we invited some teachers in and had some cookies, hot chocolate, and we had invited kids in to study for finals, get help with what things they need, and just kind of have a nice environment to prepare people for tests. And then coming up, our next event will be, I believe, Snow Days, which will take part in the week February 16th through 19th. So more with that will follow soon. And then our balance is roughly, couldn't remember, about $3,219.30. Any questions?
Any questions for Barbara Miller, Student Council President? Kurt?
Good job, and looking forward to snow days. Where is that going to be held?
That's just kind of more of a fun week that we hold here at the school.
Oh, no after school.
Not a dance or anything, but it usually will include a coronation and some other fun events. Yeah, Pet Fest, and we'll see. We'll get closer to there. There might be some after school activities, but we'll have to figure out, brainstorm with that. All right. Thank you.
Yep, thank you, Barbara. And then 6B would be the superintendent report. Mr. Lindholm?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a few things for the board as well as our staff and public that are here tonight. First of all, and most important for this meeting, this week, January 11th to 15th, is recognized by our governor, or has been declared as Paraprofessional Recognition Week. So that's in honor of the 20,000 plus paraprofessionals who serve throughout the state, and we have well over 50 paraprofessionals that work here in our district. Most of our paras work with some of our most challenging students, and it's very common to see them pouring their heart out and smiling as they do it. And we want to make sure that we honor the hard work that they do and thank them for their work with our students. Second item I want to update the board on, and Kurt, I'm glad you're still here for this. The Crow Wing County Family Services Collaborative is a partnership that we are in with Crow Wing County, and that includes public health, corrections, community services, and 2 other school districts. It's Crosby School District and Brainerd, the 3 in Crow Wing County. That collaborative, the purpose of it is to coordinate our efforts to support students and families and eliminate duplication and essentially get more bang for buck in providing services to families. The most visible thing that we get as part of this collaborative, or the resource that's provided to us, is our 2 collaborative workers. Right now that's Lori Cronquist and Crystal Rosty. There's actually 12 collaborative workers and 1 coordinator that make up the team. When I started here 2 years ago in 2013, this board had just made a decision before I came on board to increase the district contribution, I think by 50%. And our contribution now is $4,300 each year. That's what we budget for and contribute to the collaborative. There are 2 main sources of revenue. The big rocks are a grant called the ADSIS grant, and then something called local collaborative time study dollars, LCTS dollars. What I'm updating the board on right now is I see a discussion and a decision needing to be made probably a year from now, maybe a year and a half from now, and I just want to start planting seeds that we have to start looking at this. The LCTS dollars, when back in the early 2000s, brought into the collaborative was upwards of $1 million every year.
Mr. Lindholm, would you mind referencing the other districts that are in the collaborative with us?
Brainerd and Crosby. Yep.
Okay.
Yep, and so those districts also contribute, and it's based upon, I think Crosby is a little bit less than us because they're a little bit smaller, and Brainerd is quite a bit more because obviously they're quite a bit bigger. But the two main streams of revenue, ATSIS and this LCTS dollars, the issue we're going to be having to deal with is the decrease in LCTS dollars. It was over about $1 million back in 2001, 2002. The last 5-6 years, that stream of revenue is about $350,000 a year, between $320 and $350. This last fiscal year, that was down to $240,000 in revenue. So clearly what's happening here is that stream is not coming through, and we're going to be having to wrestle with what do we do about that. So just planting a seed with you. I think that the collaborative meets, I meet about once a month or about 5-6 times a year. Kurt attends 2 governance meetings every year, and so those meetings are in April and in November, and it's in November when we set the budget for the collaborative. So what I see happening here is us having some discussions, and then at the April governance board meeting, Mr. Johnson, I expect there to be some discussion about what are we going to do as we come back in November and set the 2017 budget. Does that make sense?
Good.
And everything, because that decision is made in November, we would need to be wrestling with that as we establish a budget like this spring for 2017, if we were considering some kind of a shift. I don't know that it'll go that fast, because we do have a good 3 years or 4 years of fund balance if we continue at current pace before we're in a real train wreck. I figured 2019 or 2020 is when we're out of money with no fund balance with the collaborative. So we do have some running room, but because there are 4 public entities that all have to make a decision leading into that, I want to make sure I'm planting seeds with you and allowing you to mull that over. We're always looking for other ways to bring in more revenue, but as we know that, those things aren't just sitting around. So we'll have to.
Well, just a further comment, is the 4 entities of the 3 school districts in the county.
Yep.
So in the county, and we all feel the value of the collaborative without a doubt, as its level of importance beyond the dollars it takes to run. And I want to re-support, or further support your comment about looking at additional dollars from grant writing to lobbying the state. It's one of the very few collaboratives that exist in the state of Minnesota. It's a model that a lot of other districts wish they could follow and get the benefits that we get. So, and we're everything from golf tournaments to radiothons to everything that we can think of to try to raise additional capital to offset the burden puts on the 4 public entities that are involved.
Are these LTCS dollars local county dollars?
No, they're state-driven. Actually, I think they're federally driven dollars. I could be wrong there. But the big smoke screen room is what's the formula that generates those dollars that has resulted in a decrease in funding. The reality is that funding has gone down statewide everywhere. So it's not just us. It's nothing we have control over. All right. If there's no more questions, just a couple other items. Excuse me. I want to thank our 3 principals at our last quarterly church school meeting, which is when we get together with the clergy here in town. The discussion led itself to requesting to convene a larger group to start discussing or to continue discussing identification of the issues that a lot of our youth and families are dealing with that get in the way of them being successful at school and getting in the way of them being healthy. I think our clergy deal with a lot of things that we maybe don't know about. We deal with stuff they don't know about. Police, corrections deal with stuff. And so what our principals and the clergy that was there last time decided to do was convene a larger group next time they met, which is actually tomorrow. So tomorrow at 10 a.m., we're going to be convening in this space with that group plus a whole bunch of other folks that are in our community that are invited. And there's really 2 parts to the conversation. The first part is, what are the issues that we see that get in the way of our students being successful, and seeing this as a community issue, not just a school district issue. That's part A, and I think that'll take quite a bit of time. And then the second part of the meeting, we'll go through, I'm going to share a little bit about what some other communities have done to go through this process and embrace that it's a whole community issue to raise healthy children. and how do we wrap ourselves around that here in Pequot Lakes. I'll be sharing a little bit about an organization called Strive Together. It's a nationwide organization. You might have heard or read about the work that Rydek, former mayor of Minneapolis, right? RT, Rydek. He's now leading a coalition for that community, and they've partnered with Strive Together. That's all focused on how do we help kids from cradle to career be successful. You've heard that phrase, I'm sure, on numerous occasions. And I'll also be sharing a bit about Search Institute. And if you, I know this community looked at some of the work of Search probably 20 years ago. It was a long time ago, long before any of our administrative team was on board. They have the 40 developmental assets for a community to raise children in a healthy way, and we'll be looking at some of their research. Along with that, on Monday of next week, the 3 principals and our counselors and I are going to be going to Pine River Baptist High School and hearing from Kent Pequot. He's the CEO of Search Institute, and be looking at some of the things they can help provide our community and our school district as we wrestle with that question: how do we raise kids from cradle to career and helping them be successful? So thanks to our principals for helping stir that conversation up, and I look forward to where it goes. It's going to be a good conversation. And then my last thing for the board, for the sake of transparency, you should know that I said yes to going to and helping lead a city council meeting here in Pequot Lakes on January 28th. The purpose of them asking me to attend there was probably my fault. I convened with Nancy Malika and the mayor and Mark Jerkin from the EDC and expressed that I felt like we needed more clear direction from the council about what it is the Economic Development Council is supposed to be doing as we wrestle with some of the things coming down the pipe with the highway realignment. So in return, they asked me to come in front of the whole council and help them better understand some of the decision-making frameworks that I shared with you. So I will be there on the 28th, sharing that with them, and my goal is always to forge a strong partnership between the school district and the community and the city government. So I'm hopeful that that can be part of that effort.
Any questions? Any comments?
What are you doing it?
The 28th.
Okay,
Tuesday?
It's a Thursday. Did I have the day wrong? It's a
No,
Thursday.
that's nice.
Yeah.
that's an odd night for a.
Yeah,
It's a special one. Yeah, I had a conflict with
Okay.
tomorrow.
Got it.
And then back to tomorrow's meeting at 10 a.m. in the gathering room. Issues prohibiting student success mainly.
Yeah.
Is someone from the board to be in attendance?
You certainly can be. You don't need to be. Here's what I think is going to happen. We're going to start a conversation, and then we're going to end the meeting with, okay, who really needs to be at the table? When we sit down and roll up our sleeves and work on some of this stuff, so that we can schedule a spring meeting, and we'll be sure to invite board members along with that.
Oh. Good. All right. Sounds good. Well, thank you, Superintendent Lindholm.
Yeah.
So if there's nothing further on that, then we move to 6C, which is the middle school improvement plan presented by Mike O'Neill, our new middle school principal. And not all that new anymore, but welcome. So you brought a team.
Big team.
Well, it kind of buffers my inability to present all the good things I'm doing.
I wish we had a kickball.
What is that supposed to be? All right, so,
Team, it was almost team.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, tonight I'm very appreciative of my colleagues and their time away from their households, their families, and young children. I think this is an indication, this long line of people, apparently I didn't count well. This is an indication of a lot of people that are buying into getting our building going in the right direction. And I thank you guys all for that. And I'd like you guys to recognize that on this one.
I know everyone, I believe, but could you just do quick introductions or not?
Yes, I will.
All right.
Ben Stars, Life Science, converted from the high school. We're excited to have him down. These are all members of our BLT for the most part as well. Ben's a new acquisition to our BLT, our building leadership team. Kyle Spray's an 8th grade math teacher, a member of our highly functional 8th grade team. If you want to look at middle school and look at a functional team that fires on all cylinders, cross content, that's our team.
got Molly Listy down there that we hope to hold on to as a middle school art teacher. Moving forward, was that subtle, Molly? Molly's doing great things, not to mention a chainsaw carving artist, which ties in a lot of students into applications of art. You know, we talk about artisans, applied art. She's your gal. Got Allie Ross, who has been my right hand in my transition into leadership in this building. She's an amazing resource, the best counselor that I've worked with. I did say that. Karen Walter, a new acquisition from Eagleview, and we are blessed. Thank you, Melissa. Karen's been a great addition as our interventionist. She fits the elementary stereotype coming into the middle school. I haven't seen this level of care coming out of a professional in a long time, and that speaks big dividends when we come to end of quarter time. We've got some little triumphs that are occurring every day down in your space. Thank you for that. New acquisition from Pine River, Sarah Johnson, up and coming SPED teacher in our district, and very excited to have her on board. Thank you, Chip, for hiring her.
I think Sarah ran about 8 miles today, didn't she?
She had somebody else's tennis shoes on today. That's how much walking she had put in. So, but we did. Her leadership was put to the test today, and it was great.
Hopefully she was wearing her Fitbit.
I need one. I need one. Yeah.
Well, we all need credit for the miles.
Yeah. Sal Sposito, a longtime teacher in the district, brings a nice presence to our SPED team, a male representative in our SPED team, which I think is critical, and he connects a link that some of our children don't have. And Sal's a very passionate individual. And Karen Ribedo, the first classroom observation I did at Pequot was in Karen's classroom, and boy was I saw good things. And she set the bar very high for her colleagues. And Karen's a reading teacher in our district. Here's the charge for tonight.
Okay.
I'm new here. I was trying to count the months in which I've been here. We're right around 7. And I'd be a fool to think that any of which we are presenting tonight is indicative of me. It's a collective effort of the people prior to me and the people to my left. And really want to look at where we've been from a historical standpoint, and then also look at where we're going from a future standpoint, because though I'm new, I do feel as if I bring a lot to the table in my professional journey as well. I'm excited to shoulder this challenge with the whole crew here, and each and every one of these guys is going to participate a little bit here tonight. This is going to be a classroom, folks. Okay, so as board members, you sit here and you listen to Superintendent Lindholm spout about best practice. Okay, you're going to live it tonight. So we're expecting you guys to be actively engaged. All right, we good with that? Derek, we good? Yeah, it's been a long day for everybody. So we've got 4 learning targets, and this is exactly what our teachers are asked to do every day. Middle level is kind of a proving ground. If you're not a best practice teacher, you're going to get eaten alive by behavior and by off task, by prepubescence, by pubescence. This is a true test of one's pedagogical abilities, not necessarily content always, but definitely best practice teaching and learning. We're asking you 4 things. Clearly articulate the goals of our school, be able to look at data, kind of like Stats 101, to really truly look at data. Summarize 3 reasons we should be celebrating what's going on at the middle level. And then lastly, recognize who's the most important driving force in your kids. I know many of you have children in our site. What's the most important driving force of what's going on here? Walking in the door, got a coaching background, an athletic background. Goal setting was critical. We asked everyone in the site, parents included, to set goals for the 2015-16 school year. Personal goals, professional goals, and then most importantly, in the eyes of your students. You can set whatever goal you want, but if it doesn't manifest in the eyes of your students, what good is it here as a professional? And that's something that we all did. I asked them to reflect back upon it at the end of quarter 1, and we will do so again at the end of quarter 2. Are you halfway to that goal? If you're not, what do you need to be doing to get there? If you're past the halfway point, let's see this through to fruition and start on something new. We had a climate issue coming in when I came in, let's just shoot straight, and this is one step in the right direction for that. We created our SIP goals. I'm not going to bore you with this. It's not going to be death via PowerPoint tonight. We basically have 4 realms in which we targeted. One item is something called 4 corollary questions. We all had different experiences in our education. Most of us probably had, based on where we're sitting today, probably had pretty positive experiences. 4 corollary questions is probably something that's been around since you were in school, but it didn't have a title. And we're being very strategic and specific in what we're asking our teachers to do at the middle level. We meet on a weekly basis, and a couple people will be talking about that, but basically, we look at what do we need the kids to know based on state and local standards. How do we assess whether they know it or not? What do we do if they get it? That leads to enrichment, because we're not just going to let kids sit in the classroom and wait until everyone gets caught up. We're going to provide enriched opportunities. And then lastly, what do we do if the kid doesn't get it? We're not going to accept failure. And we're going to push our kids to truly understand the important standards that are in place in our curriculum. Really excited about this. Took a little head scratching at first. A lot of people were apprehensive at first, but I think we've got some good traction. And Ben's going to talk about that in a little bit. RTI, response to intervention. Karen's going to talk about what's going on there. Basically, we took a common sense approach to this school year. I'm new, many of these people aren't. We were going to take in quarter 1, quarter 2, take an audit type approach to the first semester. What are we doing well? What do we need to fix? What are we going to keep doing, to steal your language? What are we going to stop doing? What are we going to keep doing? And we're at that point right now. We've made some awesome changes. And Kyle's going to talk a little bit about his 8th grade team, and Karen Wolter's going to live in that with you guys a little bit. But that's all part of our strategic plan. And then we also have our PBIS program, Positive Behavior Intervention and Support System. Basically finding reasons to celebrate and also reasons to hold kids accountable in behavior management. Behavior is a skill that many of you probably learned at some point from your parents. Not every student has that luxury, and you'll see slides on that tonight as well. And then lastly, Allie's going to talk about WEB, where everybody belongs, in 8th grade, mentoring 5th graders program here at our site. A critical part of the transition of 5th grade from Eagle View over here, and we had a lot of great success with that this year. Okay. I don't know if you can see this well on your slides. Notice that your PowerPoint's different than the one I'm presenting tonight. Did that on purpose to provide adequate time for these guys, because there's a difference between due dates and deadlines. Okay? And I'd rather have that be our focus than what's in front of you today or on your screens. Formative cycle. What do we want them to know? How do we know if they know it? Not just it feels good, but how do we have, what evidence can we draw from that shows that the kids can clearly articulate those standards? If they don't get it, how are we going to remediate, reteach, and reassess? And now at the end of quarter 2, we had a lofty goal of saying that we were going to do it once in quarter 1 and once in quarter 2 to have 2 full units done that. We didn't get there. We didn't. We had to slow down and do it right. We have 1 under our belt, and we feel good about that. And Ben's going to talk about that right now.
Thank you. So Mr. O'Neill kind of gave you the what is it, but you know, when I think about this, I think it's kind of a common sense approach to what we want to get out of our kids, and kind of assessing where we're at and where we need to go from there. When we started, Mr. O'Neill had said that there was kind of some apprehension, and I'll guarantee that there was, and I was one of the people who was apprehensive because it seemed like one more thing on the plate. When in reality, once I started doing it, I realized it's really not anything too different than what we already do. We just give it a little bit of formalization, and we make sure that we're doing it right, and we're not leaving kids behind, and we're assessing correctly and not moving on until we do. So we've got people at all kind of various levels of implementation right now. And to start here, I kind of went around this morning, just talked to some of my colleagues, and kind of got ideas of where they're at and some different things that they're doing right now that are great examples of this. So I went and did that this morning, and just to give you kind of a snapshot of what we're doing. One of the things that I do in various different people in our middle level is to find out what we want to, it's kind of obvious what we want our kids to learn. That's kind of dictated for us to a large extent. But how do we know what they learned? One of the common things that teachers are doing is getting a lot of pre-assessments, finding out where the kids are at before we start a unit, before we start a topic. And then we have something to kind of gauge our achievement at as we're rolling along. Yes.
Mr. Starnes, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I want to express my appreciation. I have to go to another commitment. I didn't want to really walk out in the middle of your sentence. I appreciate the structure, what you've done, what this presentation represents, and keep up the good work. I apologize. I have to leave to another commitment.
Thanks, Bert.
Thank you. Sorry for the
No
interruption.
problem. So I was just gonna, various types of pre-assessments, some formal, some informal. I've got some examples of pre-tests and different things like that that we use to get a gauge on where kids are. From there, we do a lot of different types of little assessments along the way to get an idea of where the kids are. Some are a little more formative, some are summative. Thumbs up, thumbs down, some are quizzes. And one thing that I know a lot of the teachers are doing a lot more student reflection than we've ever done before in getting the kids to identify in their own minds where they're at on certain things. And I think that that's been very valuable because I think that's brought a lot more accountability to the students than maybe I myself have experienced in the past because I didn't do a lot of that in the past, and it's a great tool to use. So then it just goes to kind of where do we go when the kids get it? Where do we go when the kids don't get it? And from personal experience, a couple weeks ago I gave a test and the kids did pretty good on most of it, and we did a really poor job on one part of it. And I looked in the mirror and realized I probably didn't do a very good job on that. So we took that time to do some, for me, to do some reteaching, for the kids to do some teaching of each other, and just hit on some things in some different ways, and we gave the kids a second chance to reassess and stuff like that. And I know that my challenge right now is to know where is that point where we can successfully move on and we can give ourselves permission to do that. That's kind of my challenge right now is to decide where that point is. But so we're kind of moving on, and we're all working at different levels to try and find the best ways to work through the cycle. But I think the teachers are starting to buy in and do a good job at it.
I think the critical part that Ben stated was the fact that gone are the days of caring about what he's saying. This is what honors college level biology teacher. Gone are the days of caring what he's saying. It's more about what are the students saying as an impact of his teaching. We can sit and pontificate on our stump speech all day, but if it's not manifesting in the students being able to showcase their learning and what's it worth, which is much different than what we probably experienced in college or lecture-based educational settings that we have. And Kim, I know you oftentimes will ask about enrichment and whatnot for some of our higher level kids. This sets the stage for that. It's not just moving on, it's providing remediation for some, but also enrichment for others. And this is not reinventing the wheel, this is something that we did at Blaine, and it's proven. Okay. Looking at other schools, Ben Johnson showed you this data before. Okay, I still don't know what Pequot's like. I really don't. I'm trying to formulate all that. But I do look at some benchmark data. Enrollment, reintroduced lunch rate, etc. Ben did this legwork for us earlier this fall. You guys probably have seen this data, remember this data. And are we average? I don't know. And I say we as a community member, we just bought our home. And we're going to set our roots down here. Hopefully, you guys will have us. We are overachieving in some areas, and we've got a lot of room to grow in others. And I think you'll see that throughout. But like a good coach, we have no business comparing ourselves to geographical neighbors. We just don't. I'm coming from a setting that was much the same. From Andover High School, we had no business comparing against anyone in our district because our free and reduced rate was 14%. That's not fair. We need to look at apples to apples, and we will see that coming up throughout.
This went higher than DGF.
Good point. Not on Friday nights in the fall.
It's been about 3 years.
Okay, so I'm going to ask something of you guys. We look back to whatever you remember about stats. We had perfect numbers earlier, but now we're just going to pair up Superintendent Lindholm with Mike. You guys are going to be a pair, actually, no, nice counting skills, gives you confidence in your career. Pairing up Valerie and Mike, you'll pair up. Susan and Brandon, you guys will pair up. Susan and Brandon, you guys are going to take MCA math. Do you have the data in front of you? No?
Yeah.
Is it? You do? Okay. Mike and Valerie, do you have the MCA reading data in front of you electronically?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then Derek and Tim, yeah, MCA science. All right. I'm going to give you, here's your wait time. You got a minute to look it over, and I want your feedback from each of your groups regarding what you see. We'll start with MCA math. I'll give you the historical reason about why these schools were selected as well.
Starting when?
Part
When
of
do
my
our
lesson.
60-second start?
30 seconds ago.
Can you say go?
I'm going to force you to be patient.
That's not the strength of ours.
And what specifically are we doing?
You
Feedback?
tell me, stats 101.
Okay.
What should I be saying? Is basically how I'd like to frame it.
You get the copies after 58 seconds.
There's, well, inevitably, the test they take is more interesting from year to year. So it's all years. So I don't know. I'll show you another slide that looks at like the MCA tree. So that's going into apples and apples discussion. Where we compare it. All right, that was the longest minute.
That was a long minute.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. You know that stats is the only math class I took to get through college?
Oh, so are you going to lead the discussion?
Oh, no.
Yes,
Let's
I'll
go
refer to
to,
him.
so now look at the slide on the screen. This is an indication of where we're at. Remember, Ben and I met this morning, and we have to remind ourselves that at Pequot, when you're talking about percentage points, you're talking about kids. Because our enrollment is right around that 130 mark. We're talking about every percentage point is approximately a student. And that totally revolutionizes, it should revolutionize the way we look at this. And based on past conversation with this group, I know you guys share that sentiment. MCA math, what do you guys see? On the board, the screen may help you.
Oh, now we're gonna look at the screen too?
We ask a lot,
60 seconds?
we ask a lot of our children.
And we should.
Well, I think looking at this, because I can hardly see it.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Looking at this, it looked like the schools that were listed were slightly above state average, if not really above state average. But then when we look at comparing the years like 2011 to 2015, it appeared that everybody had improved except for Pequot. 2011, 16.6, 2015, 61.6, 2015, 61%. But everybody else there was a difference in those
So
years.
Susan, let's speak to that. The person sitting in my chair and district leadership during that time has been highly influxed, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So when we look to that, we need to make sure that and we'll track the class, and I'll get to the next slide, but want to make sure that that's not a reflection of these people, because
Yeah.
this has
There's
been
other
set in
variables.
stone. We've been all over the place.
Yep.
So I appreciate you pointing that out. How about from the reading standpoint? There's no more important critical course as a keystone course than reading. It impacts every course thereafter.
Well, we had statewide average compared to Pequot Lakes Middle School data, and then 4 other schools to compare data with. 2 of the schools are consistently exceeding statewide averages, and 2 of the schools are below statewide averages in the group that we're comparing. Pequot consistently exceeds statewide averages. And yet, as Mike pointed out, in 2015, we're clearly a third of ours are not even meeting standard.
Right, and
So that's pretty
we talked
significant.
about human nature, as we prepped for this, we talked about human nature, and Ben brought it up. Human nature is to go to 2015. And we need to remember that 2015 is representative of the decisions that are made by specific students. And we'll get to the slide that tracks longitudinally. Remember that one that Ben showed us? We'll get to that slide in a bit. Can you handle the wait time on why I chose these schools, or do we want to just unveil it?
I think I know.
Why did we choose what we
I
chose?
think like OQ is one of the highest performing in the state. Forest View is one of the lowest, and I don't really know.
Okay, so Oakview Middle School is the highest performing middle school in the district in which, in Oklahoma, where I came from. They were a feeder school to our high school. I was involved in curriculum writing and test prep there. I have a great relationship with a couple of their assistant principals. We are drafting our plan from MCA's prep standpoint. That's going to involve some of those steps. Oakview is showing progressive growth over time, and for the most part, at least in some of their other scores, and we should definitely emulate that.
Well, and I believe, Michael, that our numbers actually match theirs. I mean, except for 2015, and we're going to kind of get a pass on that for now anyway. Yeah, but again, then 10 minutes ago you told me never to compare. But, we do emulate who is having success, and so I encourage you to do that.
We need to be cognizant that the statewide average for free and reduced lunch rates is about 37, 39% of the slide. And no one's making excuses, but we need to live in this data and be real forthright.
Well, I think that's one of the points I'm pulling from this whole discussion is if you're going to live in this with this data and move forward honestly, then that's all I can ask for now. Where will anybody?
And how about science?
Well, I guess I feel science is probably I guess kind of the same scenario. We're comparing the 4 schools to our school, and we have some top dogs, and we're kind of lying right in the middle.
And part of the reason, if you look at, even at a Realtor's webpage, it'll list Pequot as a 9 out of 10 as a school, and a school we should be proud of. And we are proud of it. And much like these communities are proud of it as well. Forest View is greater, Oakview is the gem of Anoka Hennepin. Edgewood is the feeder school of Mounds View. If any of you track high school ACT performance, Mounds View is atop the charts. And then Maple Grove is an affluent suburb, and I've heard the phrase "Edina up the north" tossed out regarding this region, and that's not really a fair comparison at all from certain elements. But let's hold ourselves to standard like that.
I think what's deceiving about this data, and I think this is where averages are so deceiving, because we know we've had certain classes that come through that completely, so this kind of throws me off. It's not broken out, it's really.
Amen. Okay, here's your slide.
I didn't get that on mine.
So Ben so graciously did a good job of highlighting this to us this fall. And where should we look? We should look at diagonal data, right? To exactly what Kim just said. Now, fully acknowledging that those tests are not static, they're changing over time. They're asking different questions. But as you see throughout this, Allie can attest to this, our school is placing a lot of weight on standardized assessment, and some people would scoff at that comment. But when we're looking against nationally and state norm data, that says something. And in looking at this, we see fluctuations. We don't see exponential growth. But should we be surprised in working with the middle level? And that's something that we really want to hold on to. Kids aren't data sets. Kids bring a lot to the table. Sarah can attest. Many of these teachers can attest that kids bring a lot to the table every day. And at Pequot, every kid's a percentage point, and we need to be cognizant of that. I see this as a point of celebration but not singing to the side, to the high heavens. We've got some growth to do here, and I feel our teachers are with me on that. Okay. We're not reinventing the wheel. We're brainstorming a lot. Everything from the Stall Street Journal, which would be words of the day and math problems in front of the men's urinal. Like, what else are you going to do when you're going to the bathroom other than prepare for the MCA test? All the way to
Yeah.
all the way to getting middle level students to buy in. And we're excited about what we can do with a good think tank and some time to do so.
And to that last point, I mean, they come out of pre-K through 4, their minds are, I mean, they're obedient, they're up and coming, and then they get into middle school. And I'm still in middle school, so I remember very
Boy,
well.
Mike, if we could get every kid to be obedient, we would be going.
But, I mean, the problem is, they grow up, and they get their own mind, and you're fighting that as well.
Yeah, take a peek here. We have student accountability data, AKA discipline data. You don't have to rub a crystal ball here to figure this out. A lot of our referrals are coming from the classroom. That's the left-hand slide. A lot of our referrals at the middle level are disruptive behavior. And a lot of our referrals are happening at the 8th grade level. Here, go ahead.
A quick question on this. I guess, you know, kind of in the future, if we look at this, it'd be interesting to look at this data very similar to how we used to look at the previous data. Because I think we all know there's classes that come through, and it's kind of like, how do we address some of those classes differently if we know there's a higher incidence of behavior?
That's easily trackable with our viewpoint software. I just did not do that, but that's a good point. Because you're absolutely right. These guys could have the best lesson plan in the world designed for the day, but if little Susie and little Johnny are acting up in class, that detracts away from everything that they brought to the table. So absolutely, think you can. On those lines, Karen is going to talk a little bit about the 6th grade experience with PBIS and just PBIS in general.
Thanks. We came into this year recognizing that Eagle View has a really strong PBIS program, and we talked a lot about how we would like that to continue in the middle school, but also recognizing that middle school students are different than elementary, and we just can't continue, you know, we can't do the exact same things that they're doing in Eagle View and have it work. So we're spending this year trying different things, you know, thinking about what we're doing and does it work, and making some plans to, you know, hopefully develop a program that's as strong as the Eagle View program. We know that for middle school students to be successful behaviorally, we need to give equal attention to the 3 areas that you see there. We need to have firm, fair, and consistent consequences for misbehavior. But equal to that, we need to teach appropriate behavior. As Mr. O'Neill said earlier, behavior is a skill, and it still needs to be taught in middle school. We hear a lot about, well, they should know better, and that's not true. Often our kids don't know better, and it's our job to teach it. In 5th grade, I know Jana Lewick is piloting a curriculum called Top 20. Those are lessons specifically designed for social and emotional growth for those students, and we're excited to see what happens with that, and if that's something we should continue in other grades. I know Mr. O'Neill's always talking to kids in large groups, small groups, individually. What does it mean to be a patriot? And we're making an effort to engage with kids in reflective discipline discussions, meaning if something happens, it's not just, bam, you have lunch detention. We try to get them to reflect, because middle school kids can reflect. And that's the fun part about teaching middle school, is you can have a really great conversation about behavior that's meaningful and results in lasting change. We also are figuring out how to reinforce positive behavior in a way that works for us. Again, we have to be mindful of the age of our students. They know the difference between cool and cheesy. And so it's a fine line. We give a lot of authentic and meaningful verbal feedback, and we have some extrinsic motivators. We have grade levels that are doing the Gotcha Being Good raffle tickets. In 6th grade, we're doing this thing. We're targeting in 6th grade being ready for class. That's a huge problem every year in 6th grade. It's just part of being 11 and 12 years old. They don't arrive ready for class at all. And so instead of just, you know, saying we're all behavior, is part of our raffle. We have ready for class raffles. It's random. You never know when the fun bucket is going to arrive in your room. And we have a fun bucket. And it's just full of stuff. And so when kids come in, surprise, it's a ready for class raffle today. Whoever's ready for class gets a raffle ticket. We give out some prizes from the fun bucket. And things like that have been pretty successful. Kids are suddenly ready for class almost all the time. Like you can walk by our rooms and they're sitting there like this, looking at us. Really cheesy, it's kind of funny. Wanting to know if it's a ready for class raffle day. So we're trying different things. We're excited about that, and through that process, hopefully we'll develop, a school-wide system that we can be proud of, in the coming years.
One of the beautiful things about middle level is the teaming element, and that each team is unique. It's their own set of contractors. They all have their own personality types, and together they formulate plans and ideas. And it's so typical, Karen, you downplay the Rubedo Bucks.
And I did nothing.
Please share, because this is so middle school.
You really like those.
I love them.
I think you
Really so.
Mike really likes Rubedo Bucks. They're imaginary. There is no such thing other than if you do something really cool in my room, you win them. And they're not worth anything.
There's no currency.
He thinks they're hilarious. Like if you do something really cool, I'll say 1,000 Rubedo Bucks for you. And they're really proud of that, and that they're nothing. Then but nobody keeps track.
I think it reflects the kind of person you are here.
Yeah.
That's exactly what's going
It
on.
builds relationships.
Imaginary.
That's right, it does.
I first got to know Karen when we were doing our superintendent search, and she was not only probably one of the brightest people on that bus, she was the funniest one. Yeah, okay.
Effective use of humor manifests in her classroom. Showing growth in the right direction, I guess. This slide shows how many referrals per day, per month, were going on in our middle level building. To start the school year, this guy was pretty busy, and it's tapered nicely. And that's a credit to the teachers for having those authentic conversations with their kids. It's a credit to them for handling discipline in the classroom where it should be handled before it gets to this point. And it's also a credit to our kids figuring it out. Chip reminds me that there's a spike in February again. We'll see. We'll see. I love that sinister laugh back there. Miss Walter.
Yep. When people asked me what I was going to do coming over from elementary to middle school, I naively told them, oh, I'm going to help 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders with reading and math. And boy, was I wrong. I liken interventions to like a really busy emergency room or a triage nurse setting where I'm just deciding who needs what do they need, and how in the world do we get that to them. So it is definitely beyond reading and math. Some of the things that are going really well with interventions is that we are really doing a good job of focusing on the entire student. Who are they? And what do they really need? And who's going to get that for them, and how are we going to get that for them? We've teamed really well this year. I think it goes beyond just me getting those kids that assistance, but we're working well with whole teams of teachers. We're working well with Mr. O'Neill and Mrs. Ross down to the school nurse, and even some janitors sort of giving them a, you can do it, come on, let's go. Another thing that's really important for us is that we're communicating with families. For some of these students, this is their first experience in our district. And probably from the district that they came from, they probably maybe didn't hear such positive things about their kids. So really working hard to make sure that that communication is positive, realistic, but positive. And also for families that have been in this district, not a whole lot of fun to always hear that your student is struggling, and to really make sure that this is what your student needs. We are going to help them, and we can do that. And then really working hard to make sure that all of our students succeed, but knowing that success totally different for every kid. I have an 8th grader who I adore. Prior to this year, F's were plentiful. The student is about to come across with quarter 2 with C's or better. And, you know, for some kids, that's not the A honor roll, but it's success. So we're really proud of that, working with individual kids and really, truly giving them what they deserve.
Karen, thank you for taking the reins on that. I wasn't being facetious when I said we got to steal the deal with you coming over here. And to the board, we thank you for things like interventionists. I know that Eagle View has too, and the work that they can do is incredible, and we thank you for that. Focusing on tier 1 in the classroom, and then also tier 2 in a slightly more intensive intervention setting. In the bottom right, I'd also like to draw, Sydney wasn't able to be here tonight, but she's here in image. We've incorporated a TA/high school tutor concept, a great way to get these kids that our students place on pedestals. I don't know about you guys, but I remember what it was like to look up to high school students when I was in the middle level. And here we have Hunter Larson and Sydney coming down along with other students that I can't recall their names off the top of my head. They're working with our middle school students, not only showing on Friday nights that they are a leader in their respective areas, but also showcasing their academic strengths as well. Sydney talking about Ben's biology lesson and being able to remember the content well enough to be able to teach some of our 7th graders protein synthesis. I'm happy I just said it right. Being able to articulate what it looks like.
Well, don't we currently have an 8th and 11th grade program?
Mm-hmm.
And what is that called again? Sorry.
I'm not going to steal Alan's thunder.
Oh, okay. But yeah, things like that are uber important, obviously.
For sure. And you guys made a great commitment to supporting that. We appreciate that. Sal and Sarah.
Yeah, we'll start with the supportive administration. I've been here 11 years now, and only over the past 2 years has the SPED department actually been scheduled time to meet as a department. So that is a huge step in the right direction. So we all in SPED are very thankful for to have that. What some of that is looking like is we are getting time now. We're starting to formulate and try to meet, realizing the importance of meeting as a department. And I think second Thursdays of the month, we are now middle level SPED and high schoolers SPED are getting together in place of the Wednesday when the whole staff meets to just collaborate on anything that comes to mind, and you know, giving suggestions to each other and having the time to do that. Trying to be consistent with our curriculum and programming.
This also really helps with transition for middle school kids to high school, which sometimes can be a bit of a difficult situation for them. And so for us to be able to get that time to spend together can really ease the transition, and the high school teachers can take good things that we're doing and implement them to help ease their transition, or give us some help and guidance on what we can do to start prepping them into the high school.
And the tough part is kind of logistics. We'd love to get the elementary SPED team on board and be able to meet with them regularly too, to ease that transition, and have communication both ways from middle level to the elementary. It's a little tough. We're still working on trying to make that work, but having the support of administration and recognizing the need for us to meet as a department, which again we haven't had for a long time, so we're real appreciative of that, and that is going to turn into some positive things for our kids.
Yes. One thing that, you know, we are aware of as teachers especially is that achievement gap between general ed kids and special ed kids, and what can we do to help reduce that gap. And so that is something that as we are meeting, we are discussing on what we can be doing. And it's kind of piggybacking off of what Karen said a little bit, that we also get a unique opportunity to be able to look at these children and look at their specific needs that they need, you know, to be more successful on these kinds of tests and more successful in school. So that's one of those things as we're meeting that we can discuss, because Sal will see a lot of kids that I also see, and how can we team together to really strengthen these areas for them. So it's a great opportunity that we have.
Our SPED teachers are some of our hardest working teachers in the district, and a lot of background goes unnoticed, and so thank you for your everyday.
Thank you.
I want to also publicly thank Ben for his leadership coming out of Iowa. It's part of his background in his ed leadership coursework. So he brings a fresh perspective to SPED and inclusion as a model as opposed to pull-up. And I'm really excited about his team leadership with where we're going, not only with the collaborative discussion, but also sharing students, not only with Eagle View in transition, but also in transition to the high school as well. Allie, this is what Mike was talking about, WEB.
WEB stands for Where Everyone Belongs. It is, it directly aligns with the high school LINK program. If you've heard about that, it's a mentorship program. About 8 years ago, I was a LINK advisor down in the metro at a high school I was working at. So this says, I've seen it work, and so I was very passionate. I went to PTA a year and a half ago, and asking for whatever they could help to get me trained so we could bring back to our students. And they've worked over the whole amount for me to go to a 3.5-day training. So I want to make sure that they get thanked in this process because they use and they now budget to support each year this program. So that's awesome. Basically what it is, in the spring, I will do this again where I go into all 7th grade classrooms and explain what it is and encourage students to apply. We had in our first year almost 60 students apply last spring. 30 were accepted by a committee of teachers. And basically it's leadership skills that they've demonstrated in their previous years in middle school, disciplinary referrals and attendance. We want a wide range of students. We don't want a whole group of high flyers. That's NJHS or student council. This is where when our kids are coming over from fourth grade, that they can look at their web leaders, kind of find someone that they can relate with, and they have a lot of similar interests in.
So this is 8th and 5th graders then?
So this is 8th to 5th.
Okay.
Yep. So at the end of their 7th grade year, they apply. We do one leadership training in the spring of their 7th grade year or their 8th grade year for the leaders. And then in the summer, the 8th graders had 2 more days of training before the orientation. And the purpose of the orientation for the 5th graders was simply to give them a positive experience with middle school without the big kids in the building. It's just them. The 30 leaders were there. We had a bunch of teachers there as well, the paras, because we want even kids who are on IEPs to come in, experience the school, even if it means they need to have headphones on when we're in the gym. And they get to meet their para. Their para was assigned in August, and so we were expecting to. And so the orientation was the 27th, and we did a lot of large group activities in the gym. We had about 120 5th graders show up. I mean, we had a huge turnout. And so then they broke off after a couple hours into classrooms, and 10 5th graders were assigned to 2 8th grade mentors. And in the rooms they did different activities, basically based around strategies. Like they had to do all these different games and couple strategies, and then at the end tied it into middle school strategies. What kind of strategies do you need to be successful in middle school? And then this was in addition to the typical open house that we also run. So that's orientation before the school year, and then throughout the year, transition, we look at transition as a year-long process, not just a one morning hitter. And it is, we go in with monthly lessons. The web leaders sign up for basically 3 different committees to go in and teach lessons during the Patriot time. So there's a half-hour time frame around lunch where they'll go in and do lessons on social emotion learning, basically. The other committee, they can sign up for social events. We're going to plan 2 social events this winter and spring outside of school for 5th graders only. They aren't invited to dances, so this will be something like a game night after school or something like that, where we are still working on that. And then the 3rd committee they can sign up for, which I actually forgot on the slide there, but that's tutoring, which you mentioned. So.
And I can speak to the fact that, knowing of the majority of these kids coming and the unique ones that I had on my radar, a handful of kids that were going to have a really tough struggle with 5th grade, and what a great way to have a very low risk opportunity to be a fifth grader and to be introduced for a fifth grader, and for this fourth grade class coming in, who probably Melissa can attest to, has a lot of nervous kids, apprehensive, some emotional needs there, and it will even be of more benefit to them, so.
Sorry, Susan.
This is a huge benefit for the 8th grade kids that have, that are going to be mentors too. One of the little boys, he's been in our club for 3 years. He was so excited that he was going to be a mentor. That's all we heard about. At Web, Mom, at Web. He tells Mom, his mom told me. You know, it's great. It's such a confidence builder. And I don't think he would have done it had he not got pushed from home. So I was very happy to see that he did it.
You know what's unique, Susan, is that these, as Ally stated, these are not your typical MJHS type students. This is different. Although there's a smattering of kids that are absolutely phenomenal. There's leadership in many forms within that group.
Exactly.
That's great.
And
A lot of quiet leaders that have stepped up.
And he's led things in our
that's
club. I'm not going to say who it is, but he's led things at our club projects and such, and I was just so happy for him. So it was great opportunity.
To refresh everyone's memory, the concept of middle school is a teaming model where we not only, the trend now is to collaborate on content and student achievement. Forever, the trend of the middle level has been collaborating on kids. And I celebrate the fact that this district has held on to that vision, because the old adage of they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care kind of discussion permeates into the middle level. Kyle's going to talk about Patriot Time.
Okay, well, what Patriot Time is the time, one period a day where our kids, our 8th grade kids, go to band or choir. So we have lots of students that are not in band and choir. So our Patriot Time is the time where we have those students. So what do we do with them, and what do we use that time for? Well, what we do is we divide the students that we have into groups based on their reading and math scores. Now, we look at two things. We look at where they're at with their MCA scores and where they're at with their STAR testing scores, and then that through. We split them into 3 groups, a math group, a reading group, and then we have 2 enrichment groups, which are kind of our high scorers on those tests. We group, since I'm a math teacher, the math students that need help with math come to me. What we do is we focus on standards or some of the strands that come off of those tests. What things do they need to work on, improve on, and we practice that. Mrs. Fisher is the reading teacher. She gets the reading group, and then Mr. Eamon and Mrs. Manley get the enrichment group. Last year for the enrichment, I know Mrs. Manley did a unit on Mount Everest because there was a lot of interest the students had. So she created a lesson plan that they did throughout the quarter that she had, where they worked on a research project on Mount Everest. Mr. Eamon's done some robotic stuff and things like that in his class. But what we do, a typical week, on Mondays, all the students come to us for ramp-up time. And we have our ramp-up program on Mondays. So even the band and choir kids are with us on Monday during our first period. What ramp-up is for us, ramp-up is where they put their PLPs, their personal learning plans together. What they're focusing on, we're getting 8th graders to think of their future. You know, what things motivate me? What things am I motivated to do? They start, obviously in the 8th grade, they don't know what they want to be when they grow up, but they probably have some ideas. We get them to start thinking about that. During that time, they also then, based on what interests they might have, they start looking at, well, if these are my interests and these are the things that I want to pursue after high school, these are some of the classes that I need to start taking. So it focuses on that. Each student has a folder like this. This is one of the students' folders that I grab. Within it, each Monday that we meet, they have a lesson that we go through, whether it be talking about their own personal learning, whether we talk about, the one that we did today, talked about what interests they have for clubs and extracurricular activities when they're in high school. So they start thinking about things that they want to participate in next year, the year after, so on. And then this folder stays with them. We keep adding to it. There's a personal learning plan in there that they keep going back to, and we keep adding to, okay, these are some of the classes that you need to take as a high schooler. These are some of the classes you need to take if you want to go to a tech school, if you want to go to a four-year college. But it gets them thinking as eighth graders for their high school. But then the rest of the week, what we have is on Tuesday and Thursday are activity days where we really focus on those enrichment activities or those remedial activities with math and reading. Wednesdays is their reading day where they read their English book or get help from other teachers on homework. And then Friday is the day we finish our activities and we have enrichment games in our classrooms at that time. But what we do is every quarter we take a look and see, all right, these are the students that I have this quarter. These are the students that I helped in math. Okay, are there other students within? We regroup them every quarter. You know, are there other students that Mrs. Fisher has that I need to help with math first quarter too? So next week, or actually this week on Wednesday, we're getting together, meeting, and figuring out and regrouping the kids for quarter three.
Kyle's eighth grade team is very high functioning, and I think his summary is reflective of that. Not every team is handling it that way, but it's a great highlight.
So it's eighth grade only paid free time?
Nope.
I didn't think
This
so.
is just, it's school-wide, but this is just a highlight of how the eighth grade handles that time segment. Each team handles it a bit differently. And some of that permission is great because cognitively, a fifth grader is a far different animal than an eighth grader, and we all know that. And there's interventions occurring at all levels.
And Karen Walter also takes an intervention group at that time where she does some other activities, but more intense interventions.
But this is first hour?
For eighth graders.
It's like that course and schedule.
So the 7-period day has been helpful with this, or is this a way to fill the 7-period day, or?
No, the foundation, no, I understand Phil is probably not the right term, but
Yes,
the foundation of middle school is things like homeroom.
Right.
It's things like that, and this provides that connection piece. And yes, we have a unique schedule and that it provides kids also options and elective opportunities as well.
No, Phil was absolutely the wrong word, but I mean, okay.
Molly?
Okay, so we've always had different ways that we've celebrated students that are doing well, and this year we kind of tweaked how we do that, and we've been having student of the month luncheons, and some neat things about it are we used to recognize students just at the grade level, but now we're recognizing students across the board in art, PLCW, music, student services, and grade levels. So students are getting recognized in all different areas with different talents. And the neat thing with the luncheons, they're held pretty quickly, so students are recognized and get that reward and experience right away, as opposed to at the end of the quarter when they can't remember what they did well. So it's nice that it's right away, and then we're bringing families into the school, so they're able to be invited in and have lunch with their students, and that's really neat. Students have been really pumped about it. And then the students are also recognized in the papers, the Northland Press, Echo, Dispatch. Right now they've been in the school pages as well. So that's a really neat program. So it kind of goes along with celebrating and PBIS and just recognizing students all over.
Yeah, it's been really powerful to have the adult guests present because we've got everything from a tearjerker comment all the way to laughs, and it's from grandparents to former teachers over at Eagleview. It's been very, very powerful, and it speaks volumes to kids and their connections within school and also outside of school as well. There's a lot of other good things going on. And I'm looking at the clock, and I'm listening to, I already listened to Chip's banter at the beginning, saying I felt a little bit of bullying going on.
Well, which is counterproductive, counterintuitive.
But there's a lot of great things going on. We should be showcasing NJHS, student council, just showing up every day, making a difference in kids' lives. And there's a lot of great things going on, and we should be crediting that. I am not going to do this to you, but I sure hope that you can articulate these things. I do want to emphasize the last one. Recognize that the most critical factor in our children's achievement is the teachers they work with. Remember this conversation? Remember that face?
TED Talk?
Yeah, TED Talk. Sir Ken Robinson, you know what he was talking about? Remember? What were your takeaways from that? I know what my takeaways were.
That the instructor is the most important part of the
Good
kids'
guess,
day.
Mike. Baited. The human commodity, our biggest investment is these people. And the biggest bang for our buck is coming out of these people. And we need to honor that. And sometimes we forget when we talk contracts, when we talk all these programming elements, we sometimes forget why people got into it in the first place. And I'd love for Molly to bring into this whole discussion thing.
So just along those lines, I know that I get to talk to these people all the time, and they have great hearts, and they went into teaching for a reason, and they all have a story to tell. But the community doesn't get to hear that because it's usually our conversations are about specifics, about grades, about assignments. So we started doing this Why I Teach, and teachers just put together a paragraph saying why they got into teaching in the first place and where their passion is. And we've been sharing it out on the school social media sites. So far we just have done them anonymously, but the community can kind of see where our hearts are at and what we're trying to do every day.
And with that, I want to celebrate all things middle level. These people make work a joy to show up to every day, and we're making positive strides in the right direction. A lot of heavy lifting is going to be happening this semester and moving into the summer as we look to steer the ship in the right direction. But we've got a great group of people to shoulder that responsibility with. And for those of you who have children in our school, you should be excited and honored to have these people interacting with kids' education. Thank you. If you guys have any questions, otherwise I'm long over our time.
Well, we all are over, but Kim, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I was just gonna say, as you may or may not know, I have 2 children in the middle school. The last name on crutches, you can probably be able to identify the Golden Milkshake kids. But just something I would add to this. I mean, for those of you that don't know, I work in the education technology industry. So I go to different school districts all over the country, almost every week I'm on a plane. It's always like, this is not a convenient place to live when you travel every week. But you know, one of the reasons I continue to stay here is because of this district. And I think, you spoke about it, but the reality is education is one piece of what's going on in the building, and the people that are involved are the other part of that. And I know that the connections my kids have with not only students but adults, admin, that's so important. And I know Leo's here probably going to like this, but a comment he made to me this year was he told me the year's going too fast. It's been his favorite grade so far. And that's a big testament. So I thank you guys for all you do. And it's great to have such good instructors, educators that the kids come to every day. So thank you.
Do you use an electric chainsaw when you carve?
I just got a battery operated,
Or battery.
so I can carve inside.
So you could, with that student lunch thing, you could do like student carver day, and then, there's gotta be a fail-safe on that thing, right?
Yeah.
What a move. Yeah, I hear ya.
You would be so good.
Does anyone else, I know I'm kind of glib, but does anyone else have anything to add to this? Or?
Thank you.
Yeah, no, and thank you is actually what we're trying to say. We know how much you guys do. We don't see it every day, but the more you throw it in our face, the more we are reminded of it. So, and I didn't mean it that way.
Yes, you did.
But thank you very much.
We'd like to thank the board for another year.
But it's only 11 more months. Yeah, thank you for your presentation, and thank you for being here to help give the presentation. And thank you everybody that show up. I love those commercials on, I think it's the radio. I mean, the ones on K-Fan break my heart about today I learned,
Yeah.
But then why did I become a teacher? Or, no, I wanted to be a teacher, and then I wanted to be a doctor and everything but a teacher. And really, being a teacher is, the most important thing. All right. Thanks. Yeah, okay. Well, here we go. Number 7. is the consent agenda. Although board action is required, all items listed are considered to be routine and will be acted on by one motion with no separate discussion. In the event the board member wishes to discuss an item, that item will be moved for separate consideration. I am looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda items as presented.
So moved.
Kim? Second. Second by Derek. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 7. Okay, if we move on to number 8, action items, I see we have 2 or 3 of them tonight. The first one is, and Kurt has already left, the action, ratification of 2015 through 2017 SEIU Local 284 Master Agreement. I believe we'll make the motion first. I'm looking for a motion to ratify the 2015 through 17 SEIU Local 284 Master Agreement as presented.
So moved.
Is there a second? Do we read the resolution or do discussion first?
I don't think there's a resolution.
This one is just a regular motion, so we have discussion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I would just like to thank the members of the board and the members of 284 who took time to negotiate. I know it's a very involved process, so I appreciate all the work that was done on the board's behalf.
Anyone else? Yeah, and as a member of that bargaining group, I do want to thank everyone involved in the process. Like the teacher's contract, it moved quickly but thoughtfully, and there was a lot of trust again in the room, and there's, I think, it's called negotiations for a reason, but I believe that, the contract helps us move forward with this group. Okay, well, with that, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Action item 8B is a resolution to close grades to open enrollment 5th grade 2016 through 2017 school year. We do the motion first and then read the resolution.
Mr. Chair, I can introduce the resolution.
Thank you.
Whereas Minnesota State 124D.03 allows the district to limit the enrollment of non-residential resident pupils in its schools to a number not less than the lesser of 1% of the total enrollment at each grade level in the district, or 2, the number of district residents of that grade level enrolled in a non-resident district, according to this section. And whereas there are 132 students currently enrolled in the 4th grade, and whereas 26 4th grade non-resident pupils are enrolled in ISD number 186, and whereas 11 4th grade resident pupils are enrolled in other districts. And now, therefore, be it resolved by the school. I guess that's what we read after we do the motion, so.
All right, so we have read the resolution, and now I'm looking for a motion to approve the resolution.
I was the motion, Mr. Chair.
I'll second it.
And then discussion? Yeah, it is a roll call. So 4th, we have closed 4th grade. Just refreshing my own
Currently,
pitiful
4th
memory.
grade and 5th grade to this current school year are both closed. This is for next year, current 4th grade when they're in 5th grade. That's the way
Mhm.
that's the way it's going.
Right now.
Okay.
Any other comment?
Could I
Absolutely.
just ask the question, Mr. Lindholm? Previously you represented that this is a bubble that we're experiencing, and that we believe that this is probably the last, or the tail end of the bubble, I think is how you put it.
Yep. The only other class that's close is the current 3rd grade class. I think it's 106. Close there, Melissa?
Yeah, they're about 25, 26.
And then we get down into the 110s, 115s in kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade. So this really, I think, should be the last time we have to do this. And just for everyone's understanding, the pinch point is 5th grade. And that's because of the way our secondary schedule works to make 6 sections of 5th grade. We haven't done that in the past. We've just run really big in 5th grade because it's so such a big deal on the schedule. It's a lot more disruptive than, say, having 6 sections in 2nd grade. So that's why this has happened, and it has happened a few times before.
Thank you.
Anyone else? This does require evidently a roll call vote, so I'll start with Brandon Anderson.
Aye.
Kim Bolton-Belcheck.
Aye.
Derek Johnson.
Aye.
Susan. Valerie.
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Kurt is not present. 8C, recommendation to approve participation in wellness incentive program. I'm looking for a motion to approve participation in the Resource Training and Solutions Wellness Incentive Program for the 2016-17 calendar years as presented.
So moved.
Kim?
Second.
Second by Brandon. Is there discussion or explanation?
We can certainly have Ms. Max
Oh,
up and
okay.
give a little bit of an explanation.
Absolutely.
Any questions?
No, we're fine.
Mr. Chair, good evening, everyone. As I outlined in the brief memo in your packet, Research Training and Solutions is the health service co-op program that the district is a part of, administering our health insurance program. As part of that, they're piloting a wellness incentive program for 2016 and 2017. And the documents in front of you just outline the program and the parameters to participate in the program. For 2016, the incentives to participate for any employee in the district who is currently on the district health insurance plan, they have the opportunity to receive a Fitbit and then up to $200 in incentives upon completion of a few basic program criteria that's outlined. It's signing up with resource training, providing a few metrics that's confidential, that stays with Blue Cross Blue Shield. And if you do that, then they can receive the $200 incentives. The Fitbit is automatically upon signing up. So that is for 2016. And then for 2017, research training will come out with whatever their incentive program is at the end of this year. This is just to approve being a part of this initial program, and then we'll revisit at the end to see how well it was received and if we want to continue.
What's the net cost of the district for?
There's no cost to the district. Resource training, part of the reserves, they fund the whole board.
And this runs side by side with the health insurance program? And did we have a staff meeting about this before we started on the staff?
No, there's been information that has been sent out to the union groups
Okay.
to work on that, and then those who aren't part of the official union will get the information once it's approved by the board. They'll have to be in the month to sign up part of the program, and we'll sort of roll it out.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Valerie.
Under the employer agrees to, the letter, I think it's page 2 or 97 in our board packet, it just says that we're obligated to communicate the wellness program to the employees, and that will sponsor the program for its employees either pursuant to a personnel policy or memorandum of understanding.
Yes.
Have we contemplated how we intend to communicate the program, and is what we contemplate acceptable to the program?
Yes, the program just requests that we either establish some type of policy or an MOU. And so what we're going to do is, in lieu of a policy per se, we're going to add a personnel regulation to our employee handbook to cover the parameters, which is a specific to these 2 years for this program. And then I am working with the unions just to make sure that we have the right understanding as far as the MOU is concerned, but that will prohibit any of this.
Okay, well, when I read it, I understood communicate the wellness program to mean like the district is responsible to communicate that we have this program, sort of push it, like advertise it, inform, encourage. Am I wrong in that, or is that what they are expecting us to do, and have we contemplated methods? Are we going to communicate via email? Are we going to put it on our website, our intranet?
A little bit of all of those.
Okay.
We'll send out, they have a flyer, a one-page flyer that will put our logo on and do that. So we'll make sure everyone gets that, and then make sure that everyone's aware of deadlines and things like that as they approach, so that if there's questions, we can help facilitate those things, and we'll have that information on our internet site too, for the HR.
Okay, and then there was one other question I had, let me see if I can find. Okay, so it says that it sunsets in September 2017, is that correct?
Yes.
But the program continues through the end of the year?
I don't know that I know specifics on the timing of when 2017 will officially be done,
Okay.
because I only know what's happening in 2016. And unless, but I'm guessing their schedule, they're probably going to wrap up towards the end, that last quarter, so they have time to pay out incentives and things like that.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so the last question I had then is on the last page 3 of this letter, that they charge an administrative fee in the amount of $5 per employee per month. And is that a fee that we're gonna pass on to the employees, or is that something the district covers? Not that it's a big deal.
No, that cost is actually covered through reserves,
Okay.
Yes, we won't be charged for it.
Okay.
And I'll make sure that this worded right.
Okay. Well, it's the last page. It's like the second to the last bullet on the last page of the agreement.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Val. Anyone else? Well, having no further discussion, I'm looking for all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Jenny. 8D is donations. January 11th, 2016 donations are as follows. Grant, $1,351.60 by the MSHSL Foundation for the designated use of the athletics department to offset activity fees for students in need. The next one is $1,000 MDHA Blue Water Chapter Minnesota Deer Hunters Association, archery equipment, physical education department. The next one is $500 Central Minnesota Gobblers, archery equipment, physical education department. The next amount or item is $13.46 for the Wells Fargo Matching Gifts Program, Gregory Cook High School PBIS program. The next one is $148.08 Wells Fargo Matching Gifts Program, Pauline Gustafson for the athletics department. And then a rolling storage rack from Nancy Waller for Glapa costume storage. And I want to thank everyone for their donations in January. The last item is announcements and meeting dates, and as I understand it, we meet again on.
Oh, I make a motion to accept the donations as presented.
Second.
Thank you very much. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Wait until the second. Number 9, announcements and meeting dates. As I understand it, Monday, January 25th, 5 p.m. is our board retreat at Breezy Point Conference Center.
That's correct. Mr. Chair, I know I shared a couple months ago, I'm not going to do that.
Okay. And then Monday, February 8th, 6 p.m. is our regular board meeting, and that will, due to the school schedule, vacation and whatnot, that is our work session board meeting. I mean, we don't have a work session in February.
That's correct. January, February, and March this year, the third Monday, which would be either a holiday or spring break. So for January, February, and March, our board meetings are the second Monday of the month.
So then, in March though, on the 7th, we will plan on having a board work session, and then a week later on the 14th, a regular board meeting.
Correct.
I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Say aye, yep, opposed? Yes, aye. Thank you, everyone, for coming, and thank you, board.